Okay, we're going to get started. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Thomas Erdman. I'll be presenting along with Wisconsin Department of Justice Special Agent Justin Bender, talking about the crime scene mapping with the Trimble X9 scanner. A little bit about me is I'm retired from Wisconsin State Patrol. I retired in 2019. I worked in the technical reconstruction unit. And when I left, I started at Seiler Public Safety as a forensics specialist. The other gentlemen are on the screen there are our public safety team. Michael Marquardt on the bottom right. He also comes from Wisconsin State Patrol, retired a couple of years ago. Has been working for Seiler since he retired. Adam Johnston. He lives in our Kentucky area, and he is retired from Owensboro, Kentucky Police Department. And our newest addition to our public safety team at Seiler is Brian Wickett on the bottom left there. Comes from the Iowa area, Des Moines Police Department. So we're excited to have Brian on board with us now. I'll let Justin introduce himself.
Hey everybody, what's happening? I see a lot of familiar names on the list, which is cool. So I'm Justin Bender, and that beard in the picture is real. So I've been with the state about 20 years. I was with the patrol for about 12 years, for those that don't know me. Was on their full-time recon and did a lot of crash scenes, crime scene type stuff, and then went to the DNR for 5 years, where I was on a unit where we specialized in wrecked vehicle and hunting incident investigations. And now I've been with DOJ about 3 years, where the majority of what I'm doing, and probably why I was kind of asked to come on as a guest, is I do solely crime scenes now. And I'd say 80–90% of that is officer-involved shootings or those types of cases, and then homicide scenes are strictly all I'm doing. So I'll talk later in the presentation.
All right, we're really excited to have Justin with us. We consider him one of our power users, using our equipment pretty much every day. Justin and I go way back. We worked together at the beginning of his law enforcement career in the patrol, worked in the same technical reconstruction unit. I worked with Justin when he was at the Wisconsin DNR, doing a lot of recreational vehicle crash investigations, and then obviously providing assistance and supporting equipment in his new role at Department of Justice. So I asked Justin to come in to talk about a lot of the deliverables on crime scene that he's doing. He's producing some pretty awesome stuff. But before that, I want to just cover a little bit about Seiler and then talk about the X9. There may be many of you that have one of the Trimble systems, but then there also may be some people on this call that just want some more information about the X9, what it does if you're looking at maybe purchasing one in the future. So a little bit about Seiler is we're in 9 states in the Midwest, and we are a Trimble authorized distributor. So in other words, we're the authorized dealer in those 9 states in the Midwest. And we, if you're outside of that area, not to worry. If you're really looking at maybe a demo or purchasing one of these, just at the end I'll give you our contact information, and we can connect you to the correct dealer that if you're outside of our area. Trimble Geospatial. I mean, if we use the word geospatial, it's kind of like geography. And then spatial is like kind of where are you in the world, and that's really what we're doing at crash scenes. Is we're mapping stuff. Is like where are you? Where is this piece of evidence in relation to another piece of evidence? So if you look at Trimble Geospatial, they're using total stations, GNSS systems, laser scanners. They're using a lot of the same stuff we're using in forensics. But they're using them for different types of things. They're using them for surveying property, surveying road construction. So that's a big customer base for Trimble. But inside of Trimble Geospatial is Trimble Public Safety and Forensics. So they have some dedicated people working on a lot of deliverables, using the same instruments, but maybe different software, different data collection software with the same instruments. So really, they're providing solutions for at scene all the way to courtroom deliverables. And at Seiler, you know, it's the public safety. We provide a full solutions for all types of public safety equipment, not just the equipment itself, but lighting, UAVs for if you're doing any type of drone mapping, scene collection tools, evidence markers. But particularly today, what we want to talk about is the Trimble X9 scanner. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of its features, why it shines above a lot of our competitors, as far as especially at scene scanning. First of all, the user-friendly field workflows. One of the things, like when I start, like if I do a demo or if I'm doing the training on the X9, is I tell the students and the officers is that literally you can probably teach an elementary school kid to use, in fact, you can to use this. If you remember back in, if anybody used like a mechanical total station, a two-man system, have to level the instrument. If you have to move it, you have to shoot to a point and then shoot back to where you came from, level it over that point. And it takes some time. It takes a little more education on how to use it and remember how to use it. I know in the beginning, a lot of people had a lot of cheat sheets on how to move a total station. Really, in the class, we talk about the care of the equipment, some scanning techniques, talk about its accuracies and where to get the reports and all that. But really, at the end of the day, it's turning the instrument on and pressing a button. And it's super simple to use. And where we used to do several days long on how to use a total station, and really in a couple hours you can show somebody how to use this and be very proficient in it. With the perspective software, it auto registers, so not having to go into software anymore, like the older scanners or some of the other scanners out there is actually going into software to auto register the stuff or to manually register it. It's done right at the scene on that tablet. On the right is the T110 tablet that connects to the X9 using the Wi-Fi board that's in the instrument and the Wi-Fi that's in the tablet. So it auto calibrates, self-leveling. So that's another where the X9 shines, where it does not have to be sent in for yearly calibrations. And if you look, you know, I've heard some scanners can be $4,000 plus per year just to calibrate every year. This does an auto calibration before every scan. Also doesn't need to be level. So it's pretty much just moving into a scan station and pressing a button. The georeferencing, I'll talk about this, is the precision georeferencing, and this is, I think, one of the most awesome features in the X9 is actually be able to georeference to other type of survey instruments like total stations and GNSS systems, and then using the precision point for actually collecting measurements. We'll talk about that a little later, and Justin will probably have some things to say about that. High-speed scanning, you actually, with the X9, you can do a 50-second scan and up to 6-minute scans. So depending on the density and the quality of the scan that you need. So really to be, especially at crash scenes, if you're using this for rather than a crime scene, a crash scene, which a crash scene can be a crime scene, but it's all about quick scene clearance. And so the solutions in the Trimble system really awesome for that quick scene clearance. And then the range, the accuracy, and the data quality of the data is pretty much unmatched. So, and I have another page for some of its features because there's so many awesome features about the X9. High sensitivity for dark, capture dark and shiny surfaces. And if you used any other scanners out there, you might have seen some of the problems about, like, if you had a bright shiny black car where there's all these holes in it, and you would have to put like some kind of powder or spray on it in order to, before you scan it for it to show up. The X9 takes care of that, where you don't need to do that. You don't have to have any powders or sprays, and it shows up just beautifully, and I'll show you some of that. Very portable and durable. So the backpack there on the right, you'll see that everything fits right into a backpack. The batteries, the chargers, the cables. Up on the top here, you'll see that it actually zips into 2 backpacks. So this top one, this one right here on the left will zip off, and then it actually can fit in, like if you're carrying this on an airplane, in the upper compartment in an airplane, and the tablet goes in this front backpack. I think we talked about the auto-calibration, also survey-gauge self-leveling, so it's dependable. And then we'll talk about this IP55 rating a little bit later on a different slide, but reliable for dust and water protection. And then also we'll talk about also in the temperature ranges also. Also, the X9 is backed by a 2-year warranty. I know a lot of instruments out there, and survey is typically a 1-year warranty, but this comes right out of the box as a 2-year warranty, and you can actually purchase extended warranties and drop protection warranties on the X9 also. So, and if any of I know there's probably some, I see by the crew out here, some of you have our X7 scanner, and then they came out with the X9, and the difference between them, really the biggest difference between them, both of them, is the X9, the Trimble X9 is a 150 meter scanner, where the X7 is a 80 meter scanner. Also with the X9, little less noise in the point cloud. Most people don't notice, but little tighter in the noise in the X9. The X9 also has faster scanning speeds. But that being said, is what Trimble has done is now made the X9 in a core and premium instead of offering 2 scanners. So you can purchase the X9 in an 80 meter scanner, just like the X7 used to be, or you can purchase it in a 150 meter scanner. You can also purchase it as an 80 meter scanner, and then at any time you can upgrade it to a 150 meter scanner. So it's upgradable. And then just recently, in the last couple of months, Trimble has introduced the X9 in a 40 meter scanner. So if you were doing something like, hey, the only thing that I'm doing is I'm scanning cars in an impound, that's the only thing I'm ever going to use it for, that's all you're going to need is a 40 meter scanner. Or if it's one of those things where it's a price thing, is like, hey, I can only afford a 40 meter scanner now, but I want to upgrade it later to a 150 meter scanner, can certainly do that. So it has several different options in the X9 now. So I just want to show that the X9, where it really shines is the inclement weather. If you really think about it, when does law enforcement get called out? We don't have the option to go out and say, okay, I go scan the scene, I'm going to wait for a nice day and then go scan it. It's usually probably more like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's raining, it's snowing, and we don't get to pick the weather. If you notice in there, there's no exposed mirrors on the X9. Everything's enclosed, and because the IP55 rating it does really well in inclement weather. So this is the tablet. You can see it's looking at it in a scan color. So each scan's a different color, and if you look right now, the points had loaded in the last scan, but you can see they don't match up, like at the edge of the building, the tree here, and it's going to do an auto registration. So it's going to figure, even though it's snowing out and there's a lot of noise because of that snow and the tree branches and stuff, it's actually going to just snap together and register properly. So you'll see this blue scan snap to the red and green scan here in a second here. And so you see just all registered there. So if I just back it up there, you can see it snapped in right there. So go to the next slide here, and then this is not a picture you're looking at, but this is the actual point cloud of that scan around that truck. And so that's a bright, shiny black truck. So you can see that it does really well without putting any type of powders or anything like that on the scan, on the scan subject. So if I clip that out there, you can see the scanner scans so fast that you can see actually the snow here. It's scanning the snow as it's falling, because that's how fast the scanner is falling. So it just kind of shows you proof. It's like the weather isn't going to really should affect your ability to go out there and get data. There's no audio on this. I took the audio off. It's just one of our marketing videos that our marketing team did with Richmond, Kentucky Police Department. Is a big customer of ours. But it's kind of showing some of the stuff that they're using it for in the rain, being able to do the black shiny cars, low light situations. We offer Fox Fury lights for the scanners. And then you're going to be able to, what's nice about the tablet is you don't need to be right next to the scanners. You can sit in the car or in a building, stay nice and warm, or stay dry, and operate the scanner without having to be right next to it. So let's talk about the IP55 rating. So IP55 compared to IP54, if you look in here, it says protects against low pressure water jets in any direction. So not just dust and not just splashing water on it, but water jet. And so that's really showing that everything's encased in there, and so it can be used in the rain and the snow. And then if you look at here in the temperature range is from, of course, we're in the United States here. We don't do the Celsius and Fahrenheit, -4 degrees to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. So one of the things that I always recommend is you should look at, whenever you're looking at scanners, look at the specs. See what the operating ranges are, because let's face it, especially if you're up north, you're going to want to be able to scan when it's getting cold out. And so look at those specs, not only just the specs for the operating range, but what is your accuracies beyond 30 meters? What is the point size beyond 30 meters? And you'll see that the X9 shines in a lot of that data. So we put all this stuff to a test. We created a white paper. So we tested all this stuff in the extreme cold. I went and scanned in -3 degrees up in Michigan at night. Extreme heat, I did some scans at, well, I think the ambient temperature is like 97-ish, where the asphalt temperature was in excess of 100 degrees, and we took a temperature of the actual instrument that was baking in the sun over 100 degrees. In heavy rain, heavy snow, low light conditions with no lights, and then dark shiny objects. And we produced, showing you the results in this white paper. So in the comments or at the end, if you want a copy of this, if you haven't seen it, just let us know and we'll get you a copy of this white paper showing you the results. The X9 very versatile. We sell a separate tripod that you can buy. So like if you're doing any type of a grave dig or anything like that, where you can put the instrument upside down. And then you can actually take the instrument off the tripod, put it on like a concrete floor, the asphalt road. Also scan as long as the scanner doesn't vibrate. It can scan, and here's an example of putting it upside down with the tripod that's included with it, upside down in a car and scanning the interior of a vehicle. We also sell the NITS target. The NIT stands for National Institute of Standards and Technology. So each one of these targets are actually sent over and certified by its distance between those 2 points as 1 meter. So you want those in your scans because then you can verify its accuracy, and that's why it's on an angle. So it's not just measuring, verifying on a horizontal or a vertical. So it's measuring both X, Y, and Z. So we can go into the software, and this is the RealWorks software, and actually doing a target extraction, and then verifying the distance of being 1 meter in between those. So something that Trimble is very, and Seiler also, very important that we have a solution that's defendable in court if you're ever asked about the accuracy of your data. So something that we definitely try to include it with all our scanner purchases. Okay, so up on the top of this this slide, you see it's in red, and I say precision points, precision points, precision points. One of the things that is really cool about the X9, I think, is I'm going to just back up the slide here a little bit and freeze it right there. So in the precision point, after you do a scan, you're able to turn the laser on the scanner. And this is really grainy because it's zoomed way into the point cloud. But you can zoom into either a piece of evidence or say a control point that you want to reference to like a total station or GNSS mapping. You can take a photo of it, attach that photo to that point, and actually you're going to grab and measure another point that's going to stand out in your point cloud, and it's going to have an XYZ coordinate to it. So it's almost kind of like a topo shot or a total station measurement inside your point cloud with a photograph attached. Justin, do you want to chime in a little bit about the precision point?
Yeah, for sure. So I get quite a bit of data throughout the state with multiple other departments, and working with a lot of the different agencies. You get to see different flows, and the precision point is definitely, it's picked up a lot, but it's something that can be underutilized, and it is such a vital tool, especially when you have other forensic tools on scene. If you have a scanner and then you're also incorporating, say, an optical total station or a GNSS unit, you have to think, how am I going to merge these data sets? And the precision tool, that is how you do it. And that's the proper way to do it in order to keep all this stuff survey grade. So if you're not using the precision point, start using it. And I've done a lot of different, testing with it, just because, when you're trying to measure something, a nail on the ground, for instance, and you have that angle, the further away you get, your laser kind of spreads out. And so, what I would recommend is, say you have a total station, think about putting points potentially on a vertical surface. You're going to reduce error there, but I geo-reference every one of my projects with GNSS, and it always turns out really well. You have to have 3 points to geo-reference, and whether you run it in the same job file or you import those points, you can do that right on scene, and you actually can verify that your data sets are merged before you leave. And if it's not merged properly, you can fix it because you can see it right there live. So if that helps.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. So here at Seiler, we don't just sell instrument, but we provide training and tech support. And when I start getting tech support calls when I'm helping someone with data, and they were like, well, how do I line this up to my total station data, or how to do this? And the biggest, kind of workflow thing that they kind of miss is like, why didn't you hit the precision points on some common control points? The precision point is definitely going to be your friend when you're using this scanner. And so that's why if you get a quote from us, we'll try to sneak in this whole package here of this toolkit here. It's trust me, it's not a moneymaker for us. The reason why we started doing that is because we want to make sure that an agency has the tools to put ground control points or survey points throughout their scene. You know, you'll never see a surveyor go out and survey, or whether it's road construction or somebody just surveying property lines, without some type of survey toolkit to mark points. And as cops, we should do the same thing. We should be setting up control and putting control out there. If any other time that you want to go out there and map with a different type of instrument or continue mapping, it's really beneficial to have control out there. That even if you don't put control out there, if you identify points you can always find again out at your scene, definitely control points are your friend. This is a scene that actually Justin and I did many years ago together at the patrol. And it turned out to be a double fatal, 4 people in the vehicle, high-speed rollover. And it turned into be a who was driving occupant kinematic type of a case. And a lot of DNA. We pulled 44 pieces of DNA evidence out of this vehicle. A lot of it got tested by our state crime lab in Wisconsin. But at the time, it was before we had scanners. And so really, I mean, we could mark the evidence, we could collect the evidence, we could take a picture from where we took it. Definitely was very helpful, you know, just in the photographs in court when we presented this case. But now with the scanner, especially with the precision point, you could actually put the laser right on top of each point that you're collecting and then create a diagram of each piece of DNA evidence that you collected throughout the vehicle. So I was just like, I brought this up, it's like, man, that would just been really great to do something like that. So this is an example. This will be a video that plays, but you can see that this is actually Wyoming, Michigan, bought an X9 scanner of ours. We put on the wall there, taped on there some stuff that I think it was like a car door or something that had some bullet holes in it. We put some trajectory rods in. Then we kind of used a trajectory tool. But then you see those yellow evidence markers. Those are done with precision points. And so the laser is on each precision point, and then you can see that they can attach photographs to each precision point. The data collector, that T110, has a camera in it, and you can take a picture of those points in there. So then you can create that evidence marker report that showed up there. And then this is showing that there's also view stations. All this stuff can be turned on and off in layers, and this is just in the Reveal, Trimble Reveal software. Be able to navigate around in those different photo stations. Those photo stations also export to a free software called Trimble Showcase. If you're looking for something that, hey, how can your prosecuting attorney view this point cloud and navigate around in it? It's a free download that you can now export these view stations into there, and then your attorneys can kind of move around in there. They don't need a supercomputer or any special training on how to do it. It's pretty simple. And this is an example of shooting into a car, and be able to, this is in the Reveal software, of taking that point cloud and taking that data that you, with the precision points, and you can see that there's been photographs attached to each precision point using the angle measuring tool in there, using the trajectory tool, and then creating a visual model, now taking a model of the vehicle, putting it over the point cloud, and then you can take that model and make it into more of a wire frame, so you can show something visually, say how did that round penetrate into the vehicle as it went through. So certainly different things that you can do in the software as far as creating deliverables. And there's so those are all the photographs there that were taken with the, let me just back that up a little bit. So right there is the evidence report, and those are photographs that can be attached to each one of those evidence markers on the right there. And if you look at this, I stole this off the Trimble YouTube page, but I thought this was pretty awesome for something to kind of show. So if you look at this picture on the left, this is the scan, and looking at it in true color of a shirt, and it just looks like a black shirt. But then if we look at this in grayscale intensity on the right-hand side, you can see that there's actually a stain on the shirt, a fluid stain, a dried fluid stain. So it pops out in that grayscale. And then down here on the bottom is looking at it, and you can look at this in the software this way or right on the tablet. So this is right in the perspective software on the tablet. I am at the scene, and let me just back up. You can see that in the color-coded intensity, that stain pops out. You're also going to use that, say, like at a crash scene or something on the road, like tire marks will pop out in a color-coded intensity, rather than they may not, which might be not visible in like true color. This is arson scene, same thing. Arson investigators love this, different views. In a grayscale view or a color-coded intensity, things might pop out a little better, easier to see. Investigators, fire investigators, arson investigators might be able to find like a point of origin just by looking at different views in here that can kind of point them to where the point of origin is. And this is where I'm going to hand it over to Justin.
All right, so Tom's going to move my slides along because he's the one in control. But I guess, so before I forget, what do I got, Tom? Half an hour? Okay, we'll be done within time. So sometimes I can get long-winded or go off on tangents, so I'll try not to. But
we'll try to have a little time at the end if someone's got questions. If you look in the there is a thing for questions if you wanted to type a question, and then we'll try to take those at the end.
Well, and so my contacts at the end, feel free to reach out if anybody has a case or something they're working on or trying to figure out what they can do with it. So I mean, ultimately, with kind of how all forensic tools have transpired over the years with recon, when I started doing it, it was tape measures, mechanical total stations, and over the years, obviously, we've added a bunch of tools to this, and you get a ton of data, and it's like ultimately that's great, but like what do you do with it, or how do you present it? So I would say the majority of my cases now are pretty much all going to trial. They're homicide scenes. I'm setting them up to present to a DA, to a jury. How do I explain this scene? And so I have some, I guess, different or unique workflows because I want it to be very easily understood on how we can, say, present this evidence. And just kind of a comment on testifying. Tom mentioned the NIST target. Kind of think of that as kind of your accuracy. Where earlier this year, I'm sorry, not this year, last year, I testified in a case where I had used optical total station, GNSS, scanner, drone, all these things, and you have to testify to all of these tools, how all of these tools were merged, how it's survey grade, how it was working properly, and then how do you explain that? So something like the NIST, for instance, it makes things very easy to explain, things like that. And so what I'm going to go through is, it's honestly just kind of scratching the surface of some of the stuff that I'm doing, and there's obviously a lot more. You think, I just laugh because I know how I am, and I just know how kind of cops are in general. You want things really cheap, but then ultimately you want like Pixar. And so like if you want Pixar, well, you got to pay for Pixar. So the workflows and the software that is available right now, it's really good, but it's only going to get better. There's hiccups with every software. So my workflow that I have right now, if you were to check in a year, it's probably going to look completely different. just because when you get tools that are advancing in the field, and now your software also has to advance, so does your workflow. Everything has to adjust. So it's like a trickle down or trickle up, I guess, or whatever effect. So, with sticking with the X9 specifically, what I'll do on some of these scenes, because just like Tom mentioned, as far as when we get called out to these things, it's never the best time, right? Super dark, raining, it's cold, all those things. So if you don't have a Fox Fury set or maybe some supplemental lighting, it can cause some complications or issues at a scene. Because whenever you're trying to take photographs, anytime there's exposures for some of these like challenging lightings, it's going to definitely increase your time on scene. And if you haven't noticed that, you will if you get into night scenes or interiors with like really low light situations. Your scan times, you could set it, for instance, the lowest possible, but your photo exposure is going to really extend how long that actually takes. So what I'll do is I'll try to leverage the tool set on scene where maybe I have an area, for instance, in the house that is where a body's located. It's important to document really well. You want some really high quality scans, photos on, that type of stuff. That's okay, great. So we can do that in those areas, but then think about or consider maybe some of the other areas where, say, we just want layouts for the entire house. I try to approach a crime scene, and I'm just specifically talking about interiors, very similar to a crash scene. So the crash scene, everybody wants to go up and huddle around the car. It's like, oh wow, it's a crash car. The recon guy, he doesn't belong at the car. He belongs way back before the car, because we want to know what happened before that crash. We're looking for tire evidence. We're looking for the things that happened before that, right? So getting in the mindset of an interior, a crime scene, there's so many things that I have found working these cases that come to light after the fact, where you're like, well, it only happened in this room, so maybe I'll just scan in that room down the hallway, and then that's it. Where I want a bigger picture, because I'm usually always asked to produce diagrams of this entire layout, because we have a witness that was in this room. We have evidence that was found later that was in this room. We have to, produce a travel paths through a house. There's just so much stuff that can come out later. You only get one kick of the cat to document it. So what's really handy with the X9 is you can actually put this thing in an indoor mode. And what that does is it cuts it to a 30-meter scanner. And if you turn the photos off, you're getting sub-minute scans, 50-second scans. And I tell you what, you can like burn through a scene. I mean, just burn through it. Like very accurately. You have to kind of like organize yourself of how you're going to do this. It's usually a dance with crime scene personnel or other investigators. But I looked at my 2025 cases, and I averaged anything that was involving an interior scene was about 38 scans. So I had plenty that were more in the 50s, plenty that were less. This is just kind of an average. So when I first started getting into, and the patrol did in general, with scanners, working with point cloud sets, I was doing all the manual registration on the back end. And we were looking at 6-7 minute scans. That took a ton of time for interiors, upwards of 8 to 10 hours. And so now I'm thinking about being able to leverage the equipment. If I only need measurements, I don't care about pretty photos. A lot of times I just put it in grayscale anyway if I'm building layouts out. So now you can dump it to 50 seconds. And if you do the math, which if I did the math wrong, tell me about it. It's pretty simple math here on this slide. Hopefully I did it right. But that equates to like just over 30 minutes for 38 scans. and it's honestly, it's almost hard to keep up with it, how fast this thing goes. So I'll use that on scenes where maybe I just really need good measurements, but I need it merged with the rest of my data sets. So you can go to the next slide. So this is an interior scene. Actually, I just finished this one like 2 weeks ago. And so the transition of the left side all the way to the right, all this is showing is a really simple 2D diagram. And I'll tell you, 2D diagrams, top down, in my line of work, I don't think they're really going to go away anytime soon. So in order to create these is actually pretty easy in Reveal, as long as you set your scene up right. So I still use RealWorks quite a bit. You could do this whole workflow in Reveal, but the way I use RealWorks is because I'm really familiar with it, used it for a long time, is on the left, what I do is I create E57 point cloud layers, essentially. So when you bring a capture file into Reveal, you can bring it in and you can orient it however you want. I typically will bring it in, and a lot of times it's georeferenced. Maybe I just have scan data and that's it. Then I will typically orient that so that my walls are, say, north-south, east-west, straight up and down. And then in RealWorks, I can, on the far left there, you see the no ceiling. You can go in, cut the roof off, cut the ceiling off, and now you can save this as like an E57. And the same thing with the wall slice. All that is, I take a thin wall slice where it actually slices the wall, and I'm hitting my windows, my doors, and I have the whole outline of that wall. And now I create that as an E57 export. And now I can actually bring those into Reveal. And there's no, I don't have to like line this up. If you're using and it's attaching to the same capture file, it will literally snap right into place. And now I can toggle off my raw scans, and I can just toggle these on and off as views. So if you think, so for instance, for a multi-level house, I will do this for the basement level, upper level, main level. I'll create different views for stairs, so I can just toggle them on and off. And then all you're doing is tracing. So this wall slice, you see that outside point cloud. So you see the interior wall and the exterior wall. A reason why I go around the building's 360 is so I get my exterior walls. If you don't go around the building, you're only going to have your interior. It might be kind of challenging to figure out window locations and your actual thicknesses, because there's very standard interior thicknesses. You know, it's like 0.4 feet, or you think about your stud walls, your exterior 2x6 walls. They're typically pretty standard, but I build them specific to each house. I build the windows, the doors, everything specific to that exact window and door. So the the third one there, all that is a traced outline of the point cloud, and it's just a top-down tracing over it, and that's just using ortho snaps, line features, and some colored rectangles. That's it. And then that last one is because I can toggle off the wall slice and say turn on just the no ceiling. You can see I have a victim location, and this was actually at a hunting camp. So I won't talk about all the custom models. I built all these deer antler models. You can actually size everything. So you can bring in models and you can size them to the actual furniture, and now you can place that in a scene. It gives you so much more context that is way cleaner than just a raw point cloud that I have found DAs really like. So you can move on to the next one. This is just showing, and so I'm just showing kind of the raw files, and then I'll show what I did with this one. This is a shooting scene that happens in a bar. Someone comes out of the men's restroom, and then there's an interaction at the front door. And so if you say you have a case where you need to do an interview of somebody, and you're like, man, I really need a really fast and quick diagram or layout or something of the interior of an exterior. This is done in RealWorks, but you can create these from these raw scan files. Some of these like really fast layouts they don't take any time at all. And you can use some of the different color schemes. So this on the far top right, that's just a grayscale. So say you want to interview somebody that was in the bar as a witness, they can then mark it in red ink or something. It would just stand out. So this is just showing just the raw point cloud, and then from this, what I did eventually from a diagram standpoint. So from that point cloud, every one of my interiors, so I do this workflow on every single interior, and I layer my diagrams. So the very first one is that layout. So I now have to figure out my exterior wall thicknesses, my interior wall thicknesses. Once I have those are set, now I'm using lines, ortho snaps. These doors, that is a function of a line, an arc tool. I'm snapping the lines and I'm using rectangles. It's very simple. It's just basic like CAD type diagramming. So what I like to do with the layering is I'll produce a diagram that is a simple layout from that point cloud data, right? So it's a function of how well you do the scans, and then I'll give room locations, so you have context. Oh, that's the bathroom, that's an office. Okay, I get it. So think about that for a house. You might have bathrooms, bedrooms, kitchen, whatever. So after I'll just give a kind of a basic diagram of that, then I will typically do a furnishings diagram. And this is modeling all the furniture based off the point cloud data. And so for like this one, for instance, there was, I don't know, like 50 bar stools or something. Well, all you have to do is actually size one bar stool model and then replicate it and then move it into position, rotate it after you size one, if they're all standard sizes. And then the other thing that some people maybe you're aware of, maybe not, is using SketchUp Web, which is free with the Trimble ID. And I didn't have the actual studio subscription. So this one I built the like pool table, shuffleboard, foosball, that stuff was actually built from SketchUp Web, the free version. I found those models, export those, bring them into Reveal, and then size them to the actual like furnishing, whatever it is. So then after the furnishing gives you a lot more context, then typically I will show a diagram with furnishings and then evidence. And this one has a bunch of bullet defects. So you can move to the next, and I'll show from a trajectory standpoint, you can show the point cloud. And so this one, you can actually see the tripod in this one, but you pull out those trajectories, you can show that in a 3D view, but it actually is really handy to show that in relation to a top-down scale diagram of where all the evidence is. Okay, looking at my time, so I got about 10 minutes. So SketchUp Studio, I've been running this for about a year. Paid subscription, so this one costs. This is ultimately, I think, kind of where things are going. But what's really nice with this, the reason I wanted this really bad was it has this Scan Essentials toolbar, where I can bring in point clouds and actually model and build things off the point cloud. And the Scan Essentials tool set, it's the same scan engine as Reveal and RealWorks is using. It's like seamless to go into here. And out of a lot of the softwares I've ran, including like Autodesk and some others, this is very easy to learn and to rotate and manipulate your point cloud to then build off of. So this was done for a case, it had some unique roof lines, that's why I showed this one. But say you wanted to build a house, for instance, or a building, and you wanted to show a top-down view. This is just showing the top, the raw point cloud brought in, how then it's built from that model, and you can change different visibility to then turn your point cloud off, and then voila, there's your exportable model Now I could get even fancier, and I could put windows in, I could make my roof line, all this. You can get as fancy as you want, but it's actually really easy to create these, and you can create these in the free version too. You just can't model off a point cloud and actually pay for that one. So, okay, so then the other challenging things with scan projects can be movable evidence, and really vehicles and bodies are probably the two biggest movable pieces that you're going to scan or document later. So the first one we'll talk about is vehicles. And really, I think about crashes, it's probably because it's a damage profile or a trajectory that you're looking at. Okay, so this is like to me, it's like, it feels like I'm cheating. To build a damaged profile vehicle in Reveal is crazy easy. If you have a scanned vehicle, you bring in that point cloud, I size a model to the point cloud in Reveal. I then turn off my model, I turn on my virtual total station, I map using the point cloud snap, the damage of that vehicle, turn off my point cloud, turn back on my model, and then I edit and I crush the damage to now the actual measured points, just like you would, in the old days do with the total station. So this is really fast and easy to do, to create. This model took hardly any time to create that profile. And then you can then incorporate that back into your scene. So this is just showing the sequence. So vehicle loses control. This is a pursuit, and rotates back onto the roadway. So you can see an impact orientation, and then turning on that damage. You can it's really simple to turn it on and off to then line your vehicles up. So, and I have plenty of examples of just how much time, I can't show everything, but doing vehicle trajectories it's kind of the same process to build off of a point cloud. You can build houses, cars, whatever. So this was done using SketchUp, where we scan the vehicle, trajectory rods in place. Now you can also, and I also do precision points, but you scan those rods in place. It is really, really easy to pull trajectories out, but it's all based on making sure and identifying that rod placement's correct. So you scan the vehicle, rods in place, right? Interior of that whole vehicle. And now I bring this into SketchUp. I find a model, build the model, and size it directly to that vehicle. And in this one, it actually had interior seats, so I didn't have to go find anymore. But then I just removed the roof, and then it's hard to see, but in the bottom right, it's kind of dark with the slide. The seats in the center console, it's actually all built to the point cloud. I can place all those inside. This was a shoot, it was just like a Tuesday afternoon in Milwaukee. These were the rounds going in. There's actually a bunch of rounds coming out of the car too. But this is just a way to be able to show vehicle trajectories, and then think about that. If you find that vehicle on scene, you can actually bring that car, bring it right back to the scene of where it was located. And I use axle center locations, where on scene you measure 2 points. So then later when you scan, you measure those same 2 points. You can snap that right back. It's just like using or merging additional tool sets, like a total station or whatever. This is just something fun, I guess you can do in SketchUp. This was for a training that I did over the summer with the sheriff's department in town here. And so this is building off of a point cloud. Same process. You can build your model from the point cloud. And this is just a photo projection. So I actually took a photo of the squad, and you can actually project that onto your model. And it's something to make really cool, like visual, like 3D models. You have that ability, and it's pretty painless to kind of create some of these pretty cool models. So go to your next. I think we have a couple slides left. So then bodies. So this was done just with a scanned scene and some of the evidence that was found on scene, but then using trajectories. This was one that was not scanned. The body wasn't scanned. So, we can bring in bodies within Reveal, place that body within the point cloud, and actually show and determine how some of these trajectories, where they came from, or the angles, or if you're looking at, convergences or whatever. But this is one showing a body that wasn't scanned, and just some of the stuff how you can use that point cloud. And then the last slide here is showing a case where you can actually scan the body with your trajectory rod in place, which it's no different than a car. It's a little bit more challenging on how to actually position it after, but you're trying to line this up with scene evidence. And so we have scene evidence within a door of a bullet strike. It was after it actually, this person was shot. And so just consider that with vehicles or bodies, movable evidence, how you're going to incorporate that back to the scene and how you document it properly, especially with trajectory. I always scan with rods in place. And you can really create some pretty simple, painless, very easy to understand diagrams later that could be helpful for your case. So
I think when we make these, there's so much to show. It's always like, where do you start, where do you begin? And you could talk forever, but I think that gives us at least somewhere where to start. So our contact information is there. If please, if you just scan that QR code, you get my contact information, and just send me a text, an email, or give me a call, and to answer your questions, and we'll direct you to the right place. As far as questions, I had one person wants the white paper. Happy to send that when we're done here. Somebody asked, does the X9 need to be calibrated each year? We have that model, and we're unaware if so. So the answer is no, it does not need to be calibrated each year. So it self-calibrates before each scan. If you get a failure in the calibration, that would needs to go in. And then Trimble recommends that it does a clean, you send it in for a clean and calibrate every 5 years. So when it gets 5 years old, you should go in there and get that calibration checked. Yeah, and you can send that give us a call, because we are a Trimble certified service center, so we do them scanner calibrations or check calibrations right in our St. Louis office. So if you drop it off at one of so the comment was it's an X9 on an X7, same difference. So it does not need to be calibrated every year. It doesn't need to go in. Let's see what else we have. Oh, so what other than a measure point is precision point different than an annotated point? So the difference between an annotation point and a precision point, there's not much difference how it shows up in your point cloud, but a precision point is actually pointing the laser at an object or a point in your scene and measuring it. What an annotation point is actually after you scan and you have your 3D point cloud, is picking a point in your point cloud and attaching a photograph and identifying that one point that you already scanned. So one's putting a point in, one's selecting a point that's in your scan already. So, but they show up kind of really the same once you import them. And that's it for the questions I see there. I did want to bring up, we're right at the top of the hour here, hour up. Just lastly here is that we did Trimble did a symposium last year, well, I should say last year in 2024 in Owensboro, Kentucky. A bunch of Trimble users came together and we had a very successful conference. We're going to do another one. Trimble's doing another one in the Duncan Parnell territory, which is another Trimble dealer in North Carolina. So if you want to scan that QR code or just send me an email or whatever, and I'll get you the registration info, but that's going to be in September 2026. So we're excited about that upcoming. And that's it. We're hours up, and we appreciate you guys all. Any other questions that come up here, I'll I'll answer offline here, but we appreciate you guys' time.